Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Sound Waves, powered by Sound Cove Labs. I'm Rob Petrosh, your host and the founder of Sound Cove Labs here in Greenwich, Connecticut, where we talk with business leaders using technology and smart systems to grow in today's world. As for today, we have a great one for you. We're heading down to Texas to meet the team behind Building Professionals of Texas, or BPT. Brad Klein is joining us. Brad, how are you?
I'm doing all right. It's just another summer day in November down here.
Nice. What's the temperature?
It's about 85.
Very different up here in Connecticut, but it's good to hear. Well, let's jump right in. Tell us a little bit about BPT's story and what inspired its launch.
The story is we started this back in one. I have been self-employed since my junior year in college in 1985 and was in the parking business and sold out to a national parking management company that was a division of a Fortune 50 company that had a cleaning company attached to it. And part of my job when I sold that business was to sit in on meetings with the heads of all the different divisions. And I sat and listened to the cleaning people and I went, I could do that. So I left and started a cleaning company.
And you focus on B2B, correct?
Correct. We're 100% B2B.
And what did you think about residential or a residential part of the business?
I have one residential client, as I like to tell people, and I only go to her house about once a quarter, and she is very, very, very difficult to deal with and just makes my life miserable. But I can't fire her because I'm married to her. So,
That's Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. But you
yeah,
got to keep that client, but it's hard to keep her happy.
yeah, so we do better as husband and wife than we do as vendor and client. No, when I was in the parking business, a big piece of our business was residential parties, house parties, and I saw how the house parties were dealt with compared to the restaurants and the clubs and the hotels. And I just understand that we hire housekeepers and janitors. We don't hire maids. And a maid is a complete different subset of the cleaning industry than a housekeeper or a janitor. And so there are successful companies in both, but I truly do not know a successful company in both.
Right. So you keep your focus on the business side. Now, one thing I read on your site, which I thought was really interesting, it said customer service is not an attitude. It's is an attitude, excuse me, not a department. What does that look like day to day?
Well, so if you want to be a success in any business, you have to have a value proposition. And our value proposition, we had to make the decision. We call it the price quality service game board, where if you remember those game boards when you were a kid with the arrow and you spin the arrow and it lands on one of the others. It can even land between two of them, but it's got to primarily land on one. We decided that we're never going to be about price because there's always somebody that's going to want it worse than you do and will come in cheaper than you are. We aren't about quality. As odd as that sounds, and as much pushback as I get from people, I say that because quality is subjective. What you think is clean, I may not think is clean, or vice versa. And so we've got to come to a consensus on what we believe between you and I, what we believe is clean and what works. Because I can make it to where you can have a beautiful buffet lunch every day in your bathroom. But two things. Number one, even if I did make it clean enough to do that, you wouldn't do that. And number two, you can't afford for us to clean like that every single night. So we had to come up with a compromise on that. But what we will never, ever compromise on, and what we are always the best about, is service. And it's communication. Nobody will outservice us. If you dug just a tiny bit deeper into it, and I'm sure you did, you saw our circle of communication, which is our value proposition. It is our 12-minute response time guarantee. You have a question, you have a problem, you have an issue, you call us, you text us, you email us, you send carrier pigeon, I don't care. We will respond to you within 12 minutes, or you get $100 off of your next tag job, your next extra work, your next carpet cleaning, whatever that happens to be.
Is that any time? Was that on the weekend? What is the time frame of this 12-minute reply?
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because somebody, if you are calling our phone number, it will send you to an emergency number after hours. If you are texting or emailing, it's going to somebody. But what this does, this isn't just about me. It's not even just about the company, BPT, Building Professionals of Texas. This is culture for us. This is everybody buys into this because if Elvia doesn't answer at the front desk. So, or if Sergio doesn't answer a text on the weekend, it has to come from everywhere, and everybody has to buy into it and understand that this is how we're going to build our business because we're not perfect. Are going to make mistakes. As I tell people, we've been doing this now for 24 years. We have never once lost an account because of something major. We don't set the building on fire. We don't look at kitty porn on their computers. We're not, bringing, the neighborhood kids into the building to hang out while we're cleaning it. We get fired because we allow molehills to become mountains. And what I stress to our people is if we communicate and we follow through on that communication and we do what we're supposed to do, those molehills get kicked over before they can become mountains, and we don't lose those accounts.
I love the focus on communication and clients, customer service. Obviously, super important. Let's let's change gears or maybe expand a little bit. Paint the picture for us. What kind of properties do you focus on today?
There's everything you see out there that's somebody's, not somebody's house, is our potential client. But, what we like to find are the verticals that we believe offer our best opportunity for growth. And what I mean by that is you go after every janitorial company has their third party managed multi-tenant office building. But that's not a strong growth uh, pattern because what happens is tomorrow the property manager quits or gets fired. Another property manager comes in, and as I like to say, there's a Jimmy Buffett song. Everybody's got a cousin in Miami. Everybody's got a friend that does janitorial. So, well, you're fired because I'm bringing in my guy. So we try and stay away from those. When I say growth, I'm talking about you find a car dealership that you know you've got your nighttime staff in there and you've got one or two day people in there and you build a relationship with the people, an owner occupied building where the people are working later into the evening and they get to know your cleaners. We have cleaners that work in high rise residential that get brought into the bonus pool at the end of the year. When you charge all of your residents the whatever the $100 a piece for a tip, they get a split of that. That doesn't happen if you don't have good people, if you don't have people that care, if you don't have people that are doing the job they're supposed to do and being part of this organization. That is the places we like to go after. That and banks and medical office and specialty clinics, things of that nature. That's where we focus. Schools and churches is another one, but we focus on places like that, and that allows us to grow smart.
Speaking of growth, as we look to 2026, what are your biggest growth goals? New markets, new services, deeper relationships with current accounts? What are your goals for 2026?
Yes, all of that. So now our goals are what we've also been focusing on. Our growth in 2025 hasn't been where it has been in past years because we quit caving. You know, I'd go call on a building and, the just for argument's sake, I'm going to charge you $1,000 a month to clean your building. Well, I can get it done for 900 from this company. Okay, I'll do it for 850. We quit doing that. We hold our numbers. This is what it's going to take to clean your building. And I understand if you want to go with a cheaper option, which, by the way, you've fired 4 janitorial companies in the last 2 years because they've always done your cheaper option. And, what do they say about the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. When you're ready to make a commitment to clean, then call me. So, because of that, we haven't grown as fast, but we're also growing with partnership clients, not transactional clients. So what 2026 has, if I could wave a magic wand and make it all come true, I'd like to do 1 or 2 acquisitions. I have just brought somebody on to open a new market in San Antonio. So we're looking to grow there. We're always looking at add-ons with current clients. The 3 ways to grow are new clients, raise prices on existing clients, or come up with new features for existing clients. And it's a hell of a lot cheaper to keep an existing client than to find a new client. We're looking at what can we offer you that will benefit you, because it always has to be, there has to be a benefit for you. And what that does also is every single thing I can offer you gives us another piece in the pie and another finger in the pie. And once you got a handful of fingers in that pie, it's a hell of a lot harder to get those fingers out than if you just have one in there.
How do new clients usually find you? Is it referrals, RFPs, word of mouth, digital marketing?
Digital marketing goes to the bottom of that pile because everybody that's looking for us. First of all, these aren't the old days where you just open up the yellow pages and you kind of randomly pick out 3 or 4 companies. You know, I'm a cleaning company and I get probably 7 to 10 emails a week from other cleaning companies wanting to give me a bid. So going after people that way, so it has to be referral, it has to be word of mouth. You always have to have your game face on and be able and willing and ready to talk to people about what you do and how you do it, and getting your entire team to do that as well. We just did a walkthrough this morning for a residential high rise that we got because we were members of a trade organization. And we're the only day porter company that's a member of this trade organization. So, because of that, we had the opportunity. We try and look at trade organizations. We don't want to be in the IFMAs and the IRAMs and the BOMAs where, wow, you're one of 100 cleaning companies in there. We want to be in the ones that where you're one of one or one of two, maybe. So
Well, listen, a lot of our audience are founders or starting a company soon. So, and a lot of them are B2B companies. So we get a lot of questions about marketing. And so what type of marketing outside of, you said you do a little bit of digital, but what type of marketing has worked for you?
So what we do, what we've done in the past, and we've probably used a half a dozen different companies because you have to find one that fits you and suits your personality. But we use the email marketing companies that do the email blast. That you give them the lists and they send out emails and follow up with phone calls and things of that nature. So we found that to be the best because even if it doesn't work today, it gets your name in front of them and they tend to remember you. And then and then they do that, and then we also get a list of what they're doing so we can kind of go back and follow up with it on our side as well. So it also is nice, and right now I don't have an outside salesperson, a dedicated outside salesperson. But having somebody that's going out knocking on doors, as old school and silly as that sounds right now, it's still pretty damn good. It works.
Face to face works for you. Well, walk us through what happens when a new lead comes in. How do you qualify it? How do you quote it? And then, most importantly, how do you close it?
Well, the qualification is there's only one way to qualify a lead, and that's contact the lead, talk to them. What are you looking for? And we can get 9 out of 10 pretty much right there in that first phone call. We're either in or out, as far as wanting to bid or not wanting to bid. They want once a week cleaning, or their budget's $1,000, and you can Google Earth and tell that it's a minimum of $5,000 job based on the size that you're looking at. You're not going to bid it. But once you do that, and you have to be careful, and ask the right questions. You want to make sure that you're not looking at another transactional client. We want partnerships. I don't want to be your janitor. I want to be your partner in cleaning. So once we do that, then we'll set up an appointment to where one of our members of our executive management team, myself or my COO or my vice president of operations, one of the three of us will always go out on the sales call with somebody from operations, because what we want to do is let's walk this together. Let's each make our own assessment, and then let's come together after we do that and talk about it. Because the last thing I want to do is walk around, do a walkthrough at a building and decide, okay, we can do this for $1,000 a month. And then your operations team does a walkthrough right before you start, and they go, oh my gosh, I can't do this for less than $1,500 a month. You know, you're in two completely different places. So everybody needs to sign off on what you're going to do. Then we put together a proposal. And, I don't like where we are now. I'm the old get off my lawn guy, and it's a little irritating for some people. But, just email me a proposal when you get it, and I'll let you know. I hate that. If I can do anything, give me 20 minutes of your time to go over this. And I will say this, is this about price? Because if it's about price, I'm just going to tear out the last page of my proposal and hand it to you. Call me when you make a decision. But if it's about value, then let me come in and talk to you and explain to you why we're a better choice.
Yep. Now, Brad, I think what you're saying is the way you're speaking is good salesmanship, which I think you have. You've been doing this for 24 years. Sometimes it's hard to replicate that among your team. Do you have your sales team? And I know you don't have outside reps, but you have people manning the phones, qualified with the same quality control and the same questions that you're asking prospects?
Well, it's if you hire, and it sounds like you have hired your own cleaner, because I can hear that vacuum in the background, is you hire a cleaner and he works for you, you're going to train him X way. You hire a company, they're going to train their people their way, and you have to hope that it works to your way. Now, with the email marketing and with the companies that we use, everything is recorded. So when we get an opportunity, we can listen to a recording. And then after listening to a few of those recordings, and even maybe some recordings that don't go through, it allows me to see, oh, here's what I see. Can we fix this? And they, instead of saying, you know, I'm with building professionals in Texas. They want to come clean your building. It's we want to come clean your building, and we can do this and we can do that. As soon as you pick up that phone or that keyboard to call somebody or to get a hold of somebody, you're now a part of our team. So now I'm going to help you. I'm going to work with you, and it's a process. It's a dance. We're going to go over this. We may have 10 phone calls before we get it right. And we may not get it right after 10 phone calls. Then I got to look at you and go, look, you got to get somebody else on this deal because this guy's not working. And so yes, I want everybody to have the passion that I have. But what I can't have, and it's happened before. Hi, this is Bob from Building Professionals of Texas. Do you have somebody that cleans your building? Do you hire, or do you can't do that. You got to put a mirror in front of you so people can hear a smile. And, it's important so that you're into it. Don't sell what you wouldn't buy.
Right. Now, no, I think that's a great approach, and I love your take, and I like how you're trying to improve there. Because this is a show where we talk about AI and we talk about systems, let's talk about some of the biggest bottlenecks that you have as a company. What would you love to automate between quotes, scheduling, follow-ups, client communication? Where are you with technology, AI, and automating or something else that you would love automated if you could wave your magic wand?
Wow, your timing is incredibly impeccable. I was just in DC last week at a Goldman Sachs puts on this 10,000 small business summit. And one of the speakers was on AI. He was a professor at Wharton. And I called my wife. I said, I'm not going to listen to that. That's stupid. Why do we need, what am I going to do with AI? Again, you'll hear it again. Get off my lawn. So I'm not doing that. And so then I went down for the next speaker, but everything was running behind. So I got about 2/3 of this. And I walked out of there going, holy crap, I don't even know where to start. There's so much I need to do now. I need to automate my proposal. I need to redo my websites. I need to put together. I had no idea that I could tell it, hey, put together a pro forma for this building. This is how much I want to charge. This is my EBITDA that I'm looking to get. How do I get there and do this? I'm like, oh my God, I had no idea. I just thought you typed in, hey, can you write an email to somebody, telling them why they should use me for cleaning? That's so, there's so much. And I don't even know where to start. And I'm going to start reading up on it and working on it and thinking about it and spending more time with it. And so if the next time we talk, you find me huddled under my desk crying, you'll know that I haven't figured it out yet.
Listen, everyone's learning, everyone's figuring it out. It's one thing that we do at Sound Cove Labs, especially across services and home services, is the way automating and making things more efficient. It's an exciting world out there, and I'm glad you're digging into it. And yeah, there is a lot to take in, but I think you're doing the right things. You're just getting
Now,
going.
you're saying this to me, but how do I know that you're real now that I think about it? You're not a deep fake,
I'm not. No, no, no.
which is
This is as real.
exactly what a deep fake would say.
Nope. This is as real. This is as real as it gets. But but on this topic though of deep fakes and AI, and I actually believe you're in an industry that is going to be the last to be disrupted by AI, which is good for you. That being said, what advice do you have? And we'll make this our final question as we've had a great conversation over almost the last half hour. But what advice do you have for some of our viewers, some who are in corporate America right now thinking about their next move, their next act? Some are thinking about franchising, some are thinking about going into the services businesses, some are thinking going into tech and AI. What advice do you have someone who wants to pursue a career or a business in professional services to get going?
Wants to start their own business?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Everybody talks about, I want to be my own boss. I want to start my own business, but I'm a little nervous. So I'm going to do this on the side. I'm going to have a plan B. You know what I'm going to tell you? Burn the lifeboat. You burn the lifeboat. Now you don't have a choice. It has to work. Period. End of story. When we were young, my wife and I started my valet business when we were in college. I sold it and started another one when we moved back to Houston after we graduated. She was a teacher, and while I was getting my valet business up and running, I went to work for my dad. So we had 3 incomes and no children. I had made the decision that I was going to tell my dad that I was going to leave to focus on my valet business. And right at that time, my wife found out that she was pregnant with our first child and told me she wasn't going back to teaching. So, you want to talk about the motivator? 3 incomes and no kids to 1 income and a baby? You damn sure better make it work. And but that's what I'm saying. And especially if you're young, if just out of college, this is so much easier. Try something if you want to try something different, because you don't have to worry about, you don't have a huge mortgage or multiple kids and tuitions and things like that. So, and if you're older, then I can't even believe this is coming out of my mouth. Use AI. Use AI. Go into AI and, hey, I want to start a top 10 of a major market janitorial company. What do I need to do? Help me devise a scope of work. Help me devise a proposal. Show me what it looks like to be profitable at this level. And so, but I'm saying burn the lifeboat. If you don't have somewhere to jump to, you don't have a choice.
I love it. Burn the boats. Could not agree more. And to your point, some of the most successful entrepreneurs actually start later in life. That doesn't always get covered in the media, but it is truth. And both sides, start young, start old. But I think your point, and I couldn't agree more. You just have to start, and that's the key. I love that. That's a great way to end. Brad, tell our good friends in Texas or anywhere in the country, but primarily Texas, how they can find you if they want to use your services.
Well, you can email me at brad@bptexas.com. You can go on our website, which is also bptexas.com, or feel free to call my office, 713-476-0800. We would love to clean your building.
Brad, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And a big thanks to our audience for joining us on Save Sound Waves. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks,
Thanks for
everyone.
having me.
All
Y'all
right.
take
Thanks, Brad. Bye.